hoping that I do have on the line Simon Mulvey. Simon, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Yes, I can now. Yeah, brilliant, Anna. Thanks.
This is wonderful news, isn't it? Television, radio. We're so 21st century, 20th century,
there
I think. It'll only take us another 80 years to catch up with whatever else is going on technologically. Anyway, Simon, thank you so much for joining us today. You were the bassist and musical director for the Bay City Rollers. And
this is true, yeah.
You have got a big launch for us, don't you? Do you want to tell us about it?
Well, yeah, sure. I left the Rollers about 4 years ago now. And along the way, we were doing lots of shows with various other 70s acts in the UK, one of which was Hot Chocolate. And so I got quite friendly with Kenny, who's been singing with them now since 2010. He's got a sort of a summer house over here in Spain as well, down towards Torrevieja. So we would hook up when he would come over, and we'd sit around and talk about music and stuff, and we just thought, well, we should try writing some songs together. This was probably February last year, I would say, March last year, and so we went to Rockfield in Monmouthshire in South Wales. And we recorded 3 songs, the first of which, it's just been released. That's pretty much the story.
It's pretty exciting. How are you feeling about it?
No, it's good. It's great. I mean, the whole process has been a lot of fun. I'm very happy with the way it sort of turned out. And, there's so many songs get released these days. So it's just kind of fingers crossed and see what happens,
And good. You say that you're happy with how it's turned out. How has it turned out? How would you describe it?
Well, originally we were writing songs. We wrote 3 to start with in that very kind of hot chocolatey vein. So kind of that pop, soul, funk, Motown-y kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And this particular one, Kenny had come up with the title, Life is What You Make It. And we were kind of batting the ideas between, he actually lives in Scotland. So we were kind of batting the ideas backwards and forwards over the internet, just adding bits in and saying which bits we liked, which we didn't. And I was actually sat in my studio over here, in Spain one evening. And I thought, do you know what? This song might work really nicely as a sort of a crossover pop reggae kind of thing. I love reggae. I listen to Bob Marley all the time. So I love all the sort of the rhythms of all that kind of thing, So I thought, well, this song might lend itself to it. So I did a rough mock-up of the song, took the words to melody, and just did a rough mock-up in a reggae style, and sent it to him, and he loved it, which was a good thing, because sometimes you send an idea off and you don't know how someone's going to react. They might say, that's the worst thing I've ever heard, but thankfully, he didn't. He seemed quite pleased with the way it was going, so that was good.
It sounds like you're having a lot of fun with it, and I can imagine maybe the worst thing between music artists is to completely shoot down someone's idea, because otherwise no one would ever share ideas at all. So, have you discovered gentler ways of telling people, thanks, but no thanks?
Yes, you're so right. You so have to do that, because you don't want to inhibit someone's creativity, and a lot of creative people are quite sort of sensitive souls, and if you do say the wrong thing, you certainly don't want to upset anybody anyway, but you certainly don't want to stifle their creativity. I was reading, and I can't remember who, I think it was Jimmy Webb, who wrote stuff like the Wichita Line Man, which are wonderful songs, and he was saying, when you're in an environment with other people writing songs, you've got to start from the premise that you cannot make mistakes. I don't mean that to mean you're not allowed to make mistakes, but anything you do, it's not a mistake. So say anything you want. It doesn't matter how ridiculous it seems. You won't make a mistake by saying it. If it comes to nothing, that's what happens. But you have to feel that you can say and suggest anything. And that's how creativity works best, rather than be too self-conscious at what you're going to say is going to come across as being, wrong, silly. Definitely.
And like I say, it does sound like you're having a lot of fun with it. Under what name are you launching this song? Is it just like 2 mates giving it a go, or are you trying to formalise a band or a bit of a brand image?
Well, at the minute, it's out we're doing it as Kenny Simon, basically. Yeah. So it's coming out under his name. promoting it, as Kenny Simon, the lead singer from Hot Chocolate. That's the approach that we're taking.
That makes sense. But you also have your background as well with the Bay City Rollers. Can you tell us a bit of just, a little bit of tantalising stories about your life travelling and touring and playing music? Because it really is the dream, isn't it?
Well, it is. Yes, it was. I don't know if it was ever planned that way. I was playing in a band actually called Doctor and the Medics, who you may have heard of. They'd had a big hit with a song called Spirit in the Sky. And I was down in the 100 Club in Oxford Street in London and got introduced to this chap called John Berry. Sorry, this is probably a really long answer to your...
Oh, we love it. No, that's perfect. It's Talk Radio Europe. That's what we're here for.
So John was playing bass with another band called Mud, who you may well know of, or your listeners may well know of, and he was also playing with the Rollers. Both bands were getting busy. I was doing Doctor and the Medics, and they weren't so busy. So John basically said to me, do you want to come in and take over the Rollers job? Because I'm just getting so busy with Mud. Les Gray, who was the original singer in Mud, and they were just getting really busy. So I said, yeah. And the weird thing was, it was Les McKeown who was the voice on all those hits. If you listen to Shang-a-Lang and Bye Bye Baby, the Rollers versions, it's Les singing on those. I was living in Hackney in North London at the time. And I spoke to Les on the phone. This would have been early 90s. And London, obviously, a huge, great city. And Les lived 10 minutes around the corner from me. Really bizarre. So we spent that first summer just... Conveniently, there was a pub midway between our two houses. So we spent a lot of the first summer just sitting at the pub talking about, music and songwriting and all that sort of stuff, So, yeah, that's kind of how it all started, And what I didn't realise was how big the Rollers were.
Really?
They had a TV show, a Saturday morning TV show in the States. That's pretty huge,
Yeah.
Japan, huge. Australia, huge. As I say, America and Canada. And, of course, the good thing about that is that we got to go and tour those places year in, year out. So that was really nice,
Exciting life and a bit of a meeting of minds London is a creative hotspot. Everybody knows that. But now you're in the Costa Brava, correct? Yeah. Do you find that you have the same opportunities that you did before in terms of creativity? Do you just use the internet, or do you find that you have to take a little bit of a step back?
It's a bit of both, really. It's a strange thing. Obviously, since we all got locked down and had to do things over the internet a lot more, people have kind of got into that habit. There's nothing better than sitting down with other musicians in a room and being creative. But it became kind of needs must, and that has carried forward, I would say, up to now. So it's not deemed unusual to do these things over the internet. It can make it quite time-consuming, because if you're trying to come up with ideas, you've got to send them across to somebody who's then got to decide whether they like it, and then send it back to you with some suggested changes and backwards and forwards. Obviously, if you're in a room together, you can just try these things spontaneously. So it does make a difference. In Spain, I've certainly met a lot of very, very talented musicians. From what I can see, there's not the same sort of pub culture where you're in a band at school with your mates, and you go, if you keep playing, you go and play in the pubs and the clubs, and if you're lucky, carries forward. As far as I can see, and I could be wrong, but there doesn't seem to be that same sort of thing over here. But there are a lot of English musicians over here. Obviously, a lot of bars, I should say British musicians, a lot of bars that have music. So, yeah, there's always lots of people around. And it's always good to meet new people and play and jam and write stuff,
Yeah, and I wonder, so I'm just going off on a tangent here, just thinking about it, but student towns and universities are often a bit of a hotspot, aren't they, as well, for growing music talent. Obviously, we've got the university in Malaga, and the talk of the town is that Estepona is opening a new university, so perhaps those will end up breeding grounds for more creativity and music on the coast.
Yeah, absolutely, possibly, yeah. It could certainly be the case. I hope so,
But who knows? We are just chewing the cud here. Bringing it back to the single Life Is What You Make It. Was it very much an internet process, or did you just sit down together in real life, get in the recording studios and bish bash bosh, put it out there?
No, that one started life very much as an internet process. So as I say, Kenny had come up with the title and just sent me a sort of a rough recording he'd made on his phone of him singing at home at his place in Scotland with an acoustic guitar, and from that I kind of took that and built a song around it. Wrote the rest of the words and the rest of the music around that kind of thing. But yeah, there's a fair bit of backwarding and forwarding. Yeah. We both, it's coming back to what we were saying earlier, we both have kind of fairly, how can I put it, not strong ideas, but we have clear ideas of the way things should go. So there's certainly compromises have to be made in like any kind of relationship, I suppose,
Yeah.
But exciting, once the song's in place, the exciting thing was we went to, as I say, Rockfield Studio, which is where they recorded Bohemian Rhapsody all those years ago, and Wonderwall was recorded there as well. So you just go into that place and the kind of the vibe, the atmosphere of thinking that these wonderful records were made there, it's a fantastic opportunity to be able to go there.
Yeah, so it did involve that bit of getting together and the final point and throwing it all together, should I say, in real life.
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, you can record. It's one thing writing things remotely. Yeah. You can record things, but you really lose that organic sense of people relating to each other musically, being in a room together. You can't really get that over the internet. I haven't been able to. So yes, we went to Rockfield, and we hired in some local musicians who were great, and played them out. And that's the way to make records of that style. Really, it's not it's that kind of pop style. I just think it needs to feel human, organic kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, here it is. That song's going to get played now. Obviously, you've put it out there on Spotify. Where else can people find it? And now that it's out there, what are your hopes and dreams, or even more solidly, actual plans that you have with this song?
Well, I mean, it's available on all the usual streaming and download sites. It's out there on all of them, Obviously, it would be great if it gets some, I believe the word is traction. If people listen to it and like it and want to download it, that's fantastic. We'll just have to see how it goes, really. We've got a couple more in the bag already, including a Christmas song. Give that a quick plug that we'll obviously be releasing in due course.
I mean, there's a time and a moment for that one, isn't there?
Absolutely, and it probably isn't in the middle of summer.
No, in a heat wave, absolutely not.
They record all these things in the summer, don't you, for release at Christmas?
Oh, yeah, it's true. I mean, it can be quite depressing. But Simon, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. Let's see if we can get some more traction behind this song. Thank you very much, and here goes.
Thank you. Lovely speaking to you.
Life is What You Made It by Kenny Simon.
Thanks.